So excited today to have Linat Mart with us. She is the VP of Product at Centrical. Linat, thank you so much for joining.
Hey, Carl, thank you for inviting me.
It's great to have you. So, my first question is just to get to know you a little bit. Can you give a little bit of information about your background and your role at Centrical?
Yes, of course. So, as the VP product at Centrical, I'm responsible for building and enhancing our performance experience platform for our hundreds of thousands of users across the globe. Most of our users are frontline employees in top companies, including 8 of the 10 business process outsourcing, like Teleperformance and Everise, and also 2 of the top US banks.
Wow, that's fantastic. Very lots of global reach and lots of impact that Centrical and your work is doing. That's really kind of exciting. So you've been in product development for a while in lots of different roles. So can you just provide a little bit of background, explain kind of how you got at your current position, a little bit about what a VP of product does, and then a little bit about how that would matter to learning and development professionals?
Sure. So I actually started out working as a technical support agent as a student. And, I quickly got to experience the quick onboarding, the detailed measurement, and the ongoing training required. At the time, really, it made me realize how hard an agent job is, so much to learn in so little time, constant updates. And on top of all that, I really had to sharpen my skills and behaviors that I need to do my job. Things like efficient call handling, active listening, being empathetic. Not all of those, unfortunately, came natural to me at the start. So obviously, the role of L&D and training teams in these types of organizations is super challenging, and this understanding really comes in handy as the VP of product because it's very important for me to understand our users, their pain points, and their needs, and then find creative and innovative solutions to address those.
So quite an interesting journey and lots of empathy for the end user, which I think is really important. The buzzword that's everybody's talking about nowadays, of course, is AI, right? Artificial intelligence. And what does it mean? And I know Centrical has actually leveraged AI for a number of years as part of its performance experience platform. So, and I know it hit with ChatGPT, but other people are like, yeah, we've been using that. We've been incorporating it, especially around the areas of learning, coaching, and feedback within the platform. So can you explain a little bit about how AI is used, in that context of learning, coaching, and feedback, and then how it impacts people who are working, within the Centrical platform?
Sure, Carl. And what I didn't mention is that I have a degree in computer science and an MBA from Tel Aviv University. And I have a vast experience in AI, working for companies like NICE and LivePerson, now Centrical. So, I'm leveraging AI to build AI-driven tools to our users, and of course, including L&D professionals. And our approach, at Centrical is that AI shouldn't replace human expertise. It should actually serve as a valuable co-pilot. Our objective is to really enhance human decision making. So with our solutions, we become kind of the user's co-pilot and empower them to become more efficient and effective. So, for example, for employees, we guide them with the next best actions and learning recommendation to really amplify their performance and help them achieve new levels of proficiency and engagement, and all of that according to the organizational needs and priorities. So, actually, the Centrical platform, will escalate to managers or trainers only in a moment of need. So, at least 80% of the time, the platform can help employees develop on their own. And still there's managers, right? So for managers, we also have a co-pilot for them that complements their decision making. It complements their decision making, providing them actionable insights, suggesting development actions or recognition actions. And all of that, of course, to improve their team's proficiency and their team's performance. Now, this frees a lot of the manager's time, and they can take it back to actually invest it with the human interactions with their team members, which is super important.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I really like the idea of next best steps, so that I as a user of the platform, know what to do next. And I also like the idea of providing both, help for the employee who's doing the job and the manager who's trying to manage that. I think there's a lot of gaps between what a manager is expected to do and then the tools that really help the manager to do that. So to see a set of tools that really help the manager, I think is great. I read an article a long time ago about the CEO of Pepsi that said one of the things that he did was he set aside a third of his time just to talk to employees and help them development and grow. And I think in today's fast-paced environment, that's not always available. So a tool like this, where you're looking at, kind of, I'm assuming outliers or exceptions, can be really helpful for a manager. Did you get a really good feedback around that?
Yes, I mean, I think you're exactly right. Like, there's so many things for managers to do, so many tasks they need to get to. And what we see is they, don't get really much time to develop their team and coach their team. So with these kind of tools, it really allows them, to automate a lot of the tasks that they don't need to do, looking at all the data, and figuring out who to coach and why. And instead of that, focus on the coaching itself and the development. I think that's what makes it super important, super helpful for managers.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful because the old axiom, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? And so if you're probably a good performer, maybe you get ignored a little bit and then you feel bad. Or if you're a poor performer, you get all the attention, and people in the middle who really have a good opportunity to grow, if the manager steps in properly and guides through that process, I think that can be a huge advantage to organizations. Yeah, really interesting.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we could spend probably all day just talking about manager development and how important that is.
And we didn't even cover, right, what we offer for L&D professionals.
Mhm.
So there's, even more than that, like, L&D professionals, this works, right? If L&D professionals are always creating the micro learnings to keep employees proficient on the, everything that's changing, new products, new processes, new regulations, and they have the heavy task of making sure that all the employees have the knowledge they need to be successful. But this is time consuming, right? This takes a lot
Yeah,
of time.
it
What
does.
we're the approach that we took at Centrical is, building a copilot that helps L&D teams discover content creation opportunities, create micro sessions within minutes, and also tailor it to the different needs and preferences of individuals, and of course, deliver it at the right time to those individuals. And that's the approach. And this really helps kind of elevate the quality of the content, because you have a good starting point, but also, of course, create much more content and tailor it at scale to the different needs and preferences.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful because the problem a lot of times I think is with some L&D efforts is there kind of a broad, like, we don't know, we people aren't performing, they need something, so let's just go ahead and do some training, right? And this gives a data-based, data-driven approach to say, look, here are the areas where there's gaps, here's where we need to address it, here's where people are not performing where they want them to perform. So rather than go, we need something, let's do something, now it's a data-driven, analytic driven approach, which I think it has impact. A lot of times I think people think of analytics and they get overwhelmed by the complexity of it or the perceived complexity of it. They're like, oh, I don't know, I don't have a background in stats, I can't do analytics. But even a basic analytic, like, hey, people are missing this key piece of content that they have to give to the client or a customer, or people are getting this wrong, or these are the bottom performers. Let's focus on them, because I know if I've been in organizations where the call center is not performing well, so that everybody gets this, training. Well, the good performers almost resent that training because they're like, hey, I'm already doing that. So
It's a
I
waste
think
of
that's
time.
really, really unique. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on. I mean, that's where the data-driven approach comes into play, right? Really identifying what you, Carl, need. Where are your skill gaps? Where are your strengths? Where are your weaknesses? What's your pace of learning? What's your preferences? How do you prefer to learn? And also really making it, much more impactful, effective, and engaging, so you can enjoy the ride, right?
Yeah, no, that I mean yeah, you're singing my song. I mean that makes perfect sense, and I think it's a really really good approach. So, um, in the approach, we talked about a little AI. How are your customers reacting to the AI in the platform? Are they so interesting to me? I think AI eventually we won't talk about it, right? It'll just be part of our software product. Um,
Exactly.
but so are they like aware of it, or are they like they want it because they've heard it as a buzzword? Like what are you feeling out there from product and customer interaction?
Yeah, I mean, obviously AI is top of mind to many of our customers, right? Like to everyone we're talking about, and they're all assessment how to harness are actually the latest development and capabilities of AI and specifically generative AI that is the buzzword around here lately. They are using AI, and so they are harnessing it now already. They're using AI to automate repetitive tasks, to free up their employees to focus on more strategic activities. They also have, AI throughout different tools for powered analytics and insights that are helping them make more informed decisions quicker. Um, we're also seeing, really interesting and not a surprise, we're seeing conversational bots and virtual assistants with generative AI becoming more and more, used in production to provide nonstop customer service, handling, inquiries and resolving issues efficiently. But we're still seeing complex conversations that are typically handled or escalated to humans, and they can still handle them more effectively. So it's kind of a mix there.
Yeah, it's interesting. We were talking before at another time, and one of the things that I hadn't thought about was the AI handling the basic customer questions or issues or whatever, and now the reps need even more intense and nuanced training because they're handling more and more difficult situations because AI can't handle it, but a human can. Can you talk a little bit about that? I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, right? The more complex, difficult situations are getting escalated or automatically transferred to humans. And the focus, what we see our customers is actually shifting their focus from improving operational metrics like handle time, right? More focus on efficiency to focusing on customer trust and loyalty, because that's where, the complex conversations are typically at. And of course, for customer trust and loyalty, you need relationship building skills, you need empathy, and all those are really a core part of human customer service. So it's kind of a different type of learning, training, practice that you need to build.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's actually shifting the required skill sets to, from what I'm hearing, like a more human, right? More empathy, more understanding, more building of trust. And I think, especially where we are, kind of the world or the country or whatever, there's lack of trust. I think all over. And so I think building that trust as a company, then you're going to have the loyal clients. There's a lot of talk about we have a political ad and the guys talk about shrinkflation, right? Where you get a box of cereal that's smaller but costs the same money, so now you don't trust those companies. And so I think it's really important to have that trust and to have people trained to be able to add that kind of value. And then you made a really great point about changing the metrics, right? Okay, it's not how long you're on a call anymore. That doesn't matter. What matters is whether or not the customer now has a feeling of trust and can believe in your company, what you're doing. That's really kind of interesting. I think it's a subtle but probably a rapidly moving shift that you're seeing.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, we're seeing that and focus more on really those types of behaviors and skills. And a lot of organizations are thinking, how can I help my employees strengthen those and kind of shifting in their mindset. So.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. I mean, you hear a lot like, oh, AI, we still need the human element, but this is a really good practical example of how AI is shifting the skill set that people need. So, and speaking of AI, so the other thing I think is interesting is that a platform like Centrical has been using AI, maybe not generative AI, but AI in a lot of different ways. And it was there, but it was never like, oh, look, we're AI enabled. And now it's everywhere, but you've already had it. So it's kind of a neat kind of evolution. And when you think of AI, I think generative AI is, catches everybody's attention, but I think the predictive AI and some of the AI that you're talking about, like what comes next, and I think those are really almost in some ways more powerful tools than some of the generative AI stuff. What do you think?
Well, I think that it's all around what we're solving for, right? These are just tools in our tool set to really provide awesome and innovative solutions to solve customers' needs and address their pain points. So to me, having those tools as well, I mean, generative AI, yes, it opened up our mind and we found like different innovative solutions and how to approach that. I'll tell you, we talked about our solutions for learning professionals, so or L&D professionals, and what one of the things we knew was very difficult with them within the platform, right, was creating the amount of micro learnings and just keeping it up to date. And that is something that we're always thinking about, how can we solve it. And once OpenAI released ChatGPT, we thought just bingo, right? We had it. We can integrate generative AI and those type of capabilities to really help them create micro learnings within minutes. And that's what we did. And a month later, we already had customers using it in the platform. So
Wow.
to me, it's just keeping up to date with all the trends, with all the technology out there, and understanding, of course, on the other side, the needs and the emerging needs of our customers and our users, and just matching it and providing those solutions to meet their needs.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I had the same kind of I had done gamification for years, and then I wrote a book on microlearning. And people were like, "Why are you writing a book on microlearning? Like, what? How come it's not gamification?" And I'm like, "Well, because we had these great gamification techniques, and then they would get to the instruction, and the instruction wasn't good, or they didn't have the microlearning, or it was an afterthought of, okay, now that we've engaged them, what do we do?" So I think that's really kind of a critical element that you're talking about. And in fact, I know that Centrical has this, the quick, I think you call it quick start micro learning generation solution using the OpenAI. And I'd love to, if we can, could we get a peek at that?
Of course, it would be my
That'd be great.
pleasure to share. I'm going to share a quick demo video that I created.
Oh,
Let
fantastic.
me, yeah, hopefully you can see my screen. And what you're seeing here is actually our admin platform for L&D professionals. And really here, what I'm doing is just uploading a document, in this case, a PDF. Now, I'm just going to stop for a second just to mention, right, this is, like you said, really helpful to get started with AI microlearning very quickly. It gives you a quick start. You can start from scratch, which was the traditional way, but you can also create an AI microlearning, which includes both summaries on, which are study items that are summarizing the content, and questions and answers automatically, or just create like a pool of questions on whatever content I'm providing. Now I can provide, upload a document. It could be a PDF, a PowerPoint, a document, whatever I have, right? Or I can just copy and paste it from anywhere, from any website, from any location, just into this text area. And all I really need to do, and I'm going to continue, it's right now uploading, is upload it and then click on the generate. I also clicked here on include the file as a first study item, and that's optional. So it's automatically already creates the file as that study item. So this can take a minute or two. And that's why I pre-recorded it, so we can
Mhm.
quickly jump and not waste any time. So I think it took about a minute. Let me jump back. And what you're going to see is actually the result. So this is the result. This is magic. It was created by the generative AI itself, integrated within our platform, obviously. And what I did as an L&D professional, I would click preview. So I can preview and experience what the AI created. Now, we believe in human in the loop, right? So this is the chance for the L&D professional to see the result and, review it, and later on make any changes that they want before publishing it. This is the document I used on empathy, right? Because we talked about empathy. And
Right.
here you can see like the study items that it created, the different summaries, and also the questions and answers that it auto-generated for me. So let's see
Very
if I
nice.
got those correct. This one I didn't. So it
Uh,
marks the wrong answer and shows me the right answer. And it will go like, and this is like already, right, a great start for me to use.
yeah, it avoids the blank screen syndrome that a lot of people have, and saves a lot of copy. I know a lot of people copy and paste to create instruction. Now you don't have to, right? It kind of copies and pastes for you, and then you can fine tune it, which I really like.
Yeah, and it doesn't just copy and paste, it actually summarizes the content for you. So the
Yeah,
key
even
points
better.
here. And I think that, one of the things, one of the feedbacks that we heard, because we released this really quickly and just, heard from our customers and iterated and improved it, obviously, with the latest and greatest models out there. But what we heard is it really saves time. Like the hard part is sometimes thinking about the right questions to ask and
Mhm.
distractors, right? Like what distractors should I offer? And this is like, just gives you that to start with. So
Yeah, that's wonderful. So this also, so the other big concern, or a big concern about AI is security. And people say, hey, if I put my document in ChatGPT, then it's going to be used to train ChatGPT, and my competitor might get a hold of it or something like that. Can you explain how the security works? And if I upload a PDF into Centrical, what happens?
Yeah, no, it's an excellent question, and it is something that is, it's concerning for, some of our customers. And the way we approach it is, first of all, we do not share any PII or personal information with any external models. We have guardrails in place, right? That we work with models that can guard well on, what topics we want to not actually enter any models, what type of information not to include in that. So security is really our utmost priority, and we never share information. Another thing is, I think AI is becoming more and more used, and specifically here, we're running it in a closed environment, right, in our cloud environment. So it's not open to everyone. It's not used to train any models, external models from that perspective. So it's
Yeah,
really,
that's a
yeah.
great relief to organizations because the funny thing is, I know some organizations they have you can't use AI, right? That's their blanket statement. Well, okay, I can't remove a background from an image using Adobe Express. I can't, it really narrows what the company's able to do. And smart vendors like Centrical have in place, like you said, guardrails and security. And so using AI in your platform is just like using a product. It's not going to go out to the greater web. It's not going to be used for training. And it provides that safety that maybe an open login of Gemini or Meta AI or ChatGPT doesn't necessarily have. So that's a really good thing to keep in mind. And I also think that organizations who outlaw AI are missing out on some really good uh, efficiency tools because of the security concern that's not really that's already been addressed by the vendor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
great.
I think everyone is trying to get AI approved with their legal teams right now. And even, those the companies that are usually laggards understand the potential here, and are really pushing to get that into advantage. Yes, but they are expecting us vendors to put the guardrails in place to make sure the content is safe. They're not sharing any PII or any personal or specific information that they're not supposed to. But obviously, also ethical standards and compliance
Mhm.
is very important. So our approach is also to always have a human in the loop, to review, to be able to review and audit and monitor what the AI is doing before it gets into, to all the employees.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. It surprises me that today I still see articles like, "Oh, a lawyer got in trouble." I'm like, "Okay, for using AI, for making up precedents," and then I would think, "Okay, well that's done. We should learn our lesson. Lawyers don't do that." And then 3 weeks later, you see another article about another lawyer that did the same thing. Hey, you can't do this. You really need to have a human, as you said, in the loop to make sure that things make sense. Even sometimes AI, sometimes OpenAI, I think has a very formal structure and a lot of platitudes and things like that. And so you might want to take that out as well in the development of the instruction. So yeah, having a human is always important. And people talk about AI is automating tasks, not positions, right? So to do the task, but we still need to have a position. So thinking about AI and crystal balling maybe a little bit, Centrical's using personalized instruction just in time. Are you seeing like an assembly of content? Like, what do you think the next, without giving away any kind of secret roadmap, do you have any predictions on, where AI might be going?
Yes, I mean, AI, if we're talking specifically around the learning space, right, it's going to revolutionize learning in general, right? In some pretty exciting ways. I mean, imagine just having that personal tutor, right? That really understands your strengths, your weaknesses, your pace, identifies your skill gaps, and it can really suggest targeted learning for you. AI can do all that. and really create those personalized learning paths. And that's some of the things we're doing, and it's going to get even more and more personal, and also provide feedback on the way, right? So that is definitely where I see AI going. I also see it, you mentioned just in time, right? And you know, obviously, you might have a question right now. You need to know something right now during your work, during your job. And that's also definitely something that we're going to see more and more. AI can assemble dynamically and deliver, the most relevant content that you need at the time, and also serve it in a consumable chunk kind of way that you can get the gist, the summary, and dive in deeper as you need. So definitely we're going to see that more and more, and also create it in a style that suits you, right? How you prefer to learn is different than how I prefer to learn. I might be enjoying watching videos while you might be like great at, using learning games as a way to learn. So we'll all have our, different ways and forms that we'll prefer to learn. And that is something that can also be created just in time more and more. So we're going to
Yeah,
see
that's
some.
wonderful. Kind of as you need it. Yeah, that's really interesting. So then, as a designer of instruction, I would see some of our things would be overseeing that process, setting the right parameters, and even working with the software engineers to say, when you pull in information about this, this is your model, right? This is the things that you need to consider. I know when writing prompts, one of the things that you do is you give examples, right? And so I think that might be an interesting a task for us in the field of instructional design to think about, okay, well, what model underlies this? How do we think about this? How do we make sure that the information is correct, and then double checking that as it comes out of the process? Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time.
No, 100%. And customizing the difficulty level could be done by AI. Tone of voice, right? If you want to have a specific brand voice in that. So there's a lot of things that you've done with marketing is definitely also relevant here, I think, in the learning spaces. And I think, for L&D professionals, this also makes AI much more accessible, to everyone, because it could provide alternative formats to people with disabilities. It can help you translate content into multiple languages. And of course, also take into consideration cultural contexts as well. So I think a lot of exciting things down the path for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And the other interesting thing is, every time technology comes along, everybody says, oh, we're no longer going to have this or this or this, but there's always a need for certain skill sets. I give the example, it's 2024, we're driving electric cars. There's still somebody in some factory somewhere making buggy whips, right? Because there are horse-drawn carriages. They're not everywhere like they used to be, but they didn't disappear. And I think that's what we need to think about in the future is, okay, what are our strengths and where do we focus those strengths? And there's lots of strengths. And the other thing is, I think AI, like lots of technologies, is a little bit overhyped in the short term. Probably it will exceed in the long term, but oh, it's going to replace, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, AI can't even form a sentence sometimes. So those, or an image, sometimes they have words misspelled because of the tokens. So it's really kind of fascinating. So we talked about where the human is and kind of what needs to be done there. So I guess my last question is, as a leader in product and making products that's in the L&D space and in other spaces as well, what are you doing to be prepared for the future? What's your kind of process for making sure, one, that you're up to date on what's going on, and two, that you yourself are keeping your skills sharp?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think with AI, everything that's happening around AI and the AI, I'll call it the AI revolution, although it's been
Mhm.
happening for a while. First of all, we need to invest in the people, right? So I'm looking also at my team and also in the culture of our company, and making sure that everyone has the right skill sets and the right knowledge to understand how to work with AI, how to leverage AI in their day-to-day job, right? And continuously educate, myself and the team on what's happening in trends and technologies, and obviously conferences, and a lot of, from our perspective, a lot of proof of concepts and playing around with the technologies and just seeing the art of the possible is super important as well. I also think that, it's a great time to encourage innovation. So a lot of the things that were just not possible before suddenly are becoming possible, right? A lot of products and services that we can imagine you could do now. And you should also revisit existing problems, right, for every leader and work with technology partners to address them. I think that's super important.
I love
Uh,
that idea. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Didn't mean to
no, go
interrupt.
ahead.
Well, I love the idea of revisiting old problems. I think one of the things that a lot of a trap that some people fall into, maybe not a lot, but some people fall into is oh, the technology, the technology, the technology, and they don't think about the problems. And I really think that's a good point about looking at nagging old problems that you never quite solved, but now you may be able to. That's really interesting.
Yeah. You know, I agree with you. Like a lot of the times we're thinking, okay, innovative technology, let's think about innovative things we might, but no, some you still have those, right? Those existing problems and needs. And usually those are the strongest ones that you need to address. So I think that's really important. But also, you know, leaders should think strategically. AI is changing things around there, right? And we need to develop a long-term vision for AI that actually aligns with our business goals. And I think every leader should do that and identify the risks associated with AI, right? And plan to mitigate those. So I think that's important also for leaders across the board because, yes, the landscape is changing. We're going to have different roles, different, like we talked about, you know, with the roles of the agents and some of their needs and their skills. So it's going to change around us. What does that mean for our company? What does that mean for us? What does that mean on the direction that we need to head in?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of companies, uh, oh, we need to think about skills, we need to think about the future, but it's lip service. But with AI, you're absolutely right. There needs to be a group focused on, how does this align with our company values, where we're going, where we think we need to go, and what the competition is doing. And I think that's really kind of an interesting, an important way to think about it, to be more strategic. I think a lot of L&D folks, are involved in the tactics of day to day, but they need to step back a little bit and say, okay, what are some strategies that I need to think about? Even if I can't influence the entire company, I need to influence my department or my group or the people that I'm responsible for to make sure that works. Well, this
Yeah,
has been like, oh, go ahead.
no, I was saying you're spot on. Like I love the way you phrase it.
Yeah, no, this has been an enlightening conversation. I could talk to you all day, but you've got product to develop. I've got things to do. So I just want to thank you so much for your time and for showing us a little bit of the product and sharing your insights and your background. This has been really, really interesting. Thank you so much.
Karl, thanks again for having me. This was great, and I love kind of discussing this further with you.